if they want to do it in person.
Give you a good, if you would be interested in it, but that's, we can talk about that later or not at all. It's just,
Yeah, I've actually, this will be my second podcast I've got.
okay.
And I'm trying to get my basement set up to where I can do it in there. Right now, I'm doing my other one out of my garage. Ain't the best quality.
Yeah.
You gotta do what you
Got you. Go ahead and pull it up closer to you there. But so tell me kind of like, I want, you know, obviously like I saw that you were doing essentially a Christ-centered podcast.
Yeah.
Is that a fair description of it? But it's what I gathered is every episode will have like a different guest that will come in and they'll talk about whatever, either is it what they feel led to bring or just what they want to bring on to the podcast. How do you decide the content of it?
Well, I told about everybody that I want them to really kind of decide themselves what they want to talk about, because I want this to be a Bible study. Okay. I don't want this to be a debate. That's the
sure.
Because me personally, I feel like a debate gets you nowhere.
Okay.
You know, I feel like a debate doesn't really, it can push people way more than it can bring people closer.
Okay.
That's just how I feel. So I know with Jack, I let him decide he's going to be my first guest, and he wanted to just do it over what the title for the podcast is, which is The Life for Christ, so we're just, getting into what it means to live a life for Christ.
Sure.
My next guest will be Michael Miller. He told me, he said, well, we'll wait, we'll see what questions people ask, and we'll go from there.
I think that's awesome.
We can, if somebody asks a really question that we can get deep into, that's what we'll use as the next lesson for the podcast.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to hit it a bunch of different ways, because I myself, if anybody watched the video that I posted, I have a hard time just sitting there reading. Like me and my wife, we done the read the Bible in a year. My wife done it, no problem. She done great.
Yeah.
I struggled.
Yeah.
I cannot sit there and read all of Romans and then sit there and have a conversation with you. I just can't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
If I can focus on this subject, these verses, this chapter, something like that, it helps me. Sure. And I think, there's probably a lot more people out there like that than there is that can just sit there and read it and remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, kind of what I want to do also. But at the same time, I want people to tell their story of times, maybe, if they're comfortable with it, obviously, tell that when they've struggled and needed Christ.
Oh, yeah.
Because I myself have had several times in my life where,
oh, yeah,
instead of coming to Christ, I went away.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's stuff like that.
Yeah,
I feel like
that happens as a even as a believer. Like, I mean, which I know, because you're Church of Christ, right? And I don't want to get into like you said, theology or whatever. But I come from a Baptist background. But we'll meet common ground and say Jesus is the Son of God, and he died for sinners and all that. And I know, like, my journey, dude, like, there are times where not like a self-righteousness, but there's like a time where I'm up on the mountain where, like, I know I'm where God wants me to be, and I'm walking the way that he has intended for me. And then, I mean, it could be the same day or the next day or next week, and like I might as well not even call myself a Christian, Yeah. And so, like, it's to me, what I'm picking up from what you're putting down is that you want people to be able to talk about those types of things. Is that fair?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I myself am the just best example for somebody that went the completely wrong way.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, right now, just to be open about it and let other people, that way people can see that me and my wife, we started going to church. My wife had never been to church, really. We got together. She started going with me, and we decided to get married early so we could start trying to have kids.
Yeah, I got you.
And we got pregnant about 2 months after I don't even think it was 2 months after we got married, and went for the 12-month checkup, lost the baby.
Oh, man.
Found out the baby was no longer there, and at that point, I'll make it a little emotional, but at that point, I completely went the wrong way.
Yeah.
I, just didn't want to be. I couldn't make myself go to church.
Yeah.
And I found myself, just kind of, why me? I'm like, my wife didn't go. I'm bringing my wife to church. I brought somebody closer to you.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this happening to me? And I even got to the point, that one night I sat there and wrote my wife a note, held a gun to my head, and I wanted to end it all. And then I don't know what, but something kept me from doing it. I don't know, but I just could not pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And later, not even probably 3 months later, we found out we was pregnant with our little girl. We had her. Last year, we lost 2 more babies. And I was right back. Not as bad. I was still going to church. But with the last baby, my wife, we had some complications. My wife only has one ovary. Somehow her tube grew back on the other side, and that's where the baby went.
Really?
The baby was healthy, but we couldn't have it. And we had no choice but to get rid of the baby, because there's no way the baby's going to make it. And there's a pretty good chance that if we hadn't done it right then, it could have killed my wife, and from then on, I felt like I killed my baby.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It is, and it was very hard to deal with, and
that's like being caught in between a rock and a hard place.
Like it was, like I knew that we couldn't do nothing about it, but at the same time, as Christians, I'm a big firm believer in not, and in that I don't want to get.
I know what you're saying. You out in the typical scenario, that's not what you're about.
Yes.
But when
we had no choice.
You had no choice.
And it ate at me more than anything.
Yeah.
And I never got to the point where I wanted to end it again. And I never got to the point where I quit going to church. But I still was like, why is it happening to me? What am I doing to make it? And, I gave a lesson like this at church. We have on Wednesday, the first Wednesday of every month, we have a young adult Bible study where people, I think the age is 50 and under, we go downstairs and one of us leads the Bible study. And I done mine over this situation. And a lot of people that was there, was like, I completely, like, this is a good story. And I seen it as a way for me to help bring more people to Christ, because there's a lot of people that didn't go, that this could have happened to, that didn't go back to church, that it pushed them away, I don't, but I know people personally that things like this have happened in their life and they no longer believe in God.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to keep from happening.
Sure.
And that's why I want more, it can be as simple as somebody like, well, I grew up in the church. I had a family that brought me up in the church. It could also go to mine where, I wasn't raised in church. I dated this girl in high school. She invited me to church. That's how I started going.
Yeah.
And then, typical high schooler.
I got you.
And didn't go. And then when me and my wife got together, we was like, we want to go to church. This is what we want our, to make our life revolve around. And now I've got a 3-year-old girl that, if you don't go to church, she's mad. So,
yeah.
So I'm trying to raise my kid up. And I want to help more people come to Christ. That's what we're built to do. That's what God.
That's what we're supposed to do.
That's what God wants us to do: is bring more people to Him.
Bring more people to Him. Be fishers of men, and He created us for good works. And I think what you're doing is awesome. And your willingness to share that, like I don't want to go into too much detail, but a lot of people wouldn't know this about me, but I've been in that situation on the threshold of ending it myself in the same manner that you described at multiple times. And what I think has helped me is, instead of having to internalize, because you talk about how people could experience situations like this and they walk away from God. What it taught me to a degree is that I can actually take, like, when I disagree with God, like it's this weird human thing, because like I can know up here and even believe in here that no matter what, God is always right. But then I have this humanity in me that's like, this isn't fair, this isn't right, I don't like this. But because I know that He's always right, and if I'm disagreeing with Him, that means there's something wrong. That that was almost a discouraging thing to me. Like I felt like I couldn't take that to him. But what I've learned is I can actually, not only can I take those things to him, he wants me to take those things to him, like to actually get closer to him. Like I think he would rather me come to him angry, but honestly, than suppressing my anger in a dishonest.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and another thing I want with this is, there's people out there that, like myself, they don't like coming to people and asking questions.
Yeah.
I'm a very I'm a very shy person. I hate this is very way out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I'm trying. That's why another reason I want to do this, because I want to get out of that. I want to be able to one day maybe, preach a sermon and, help, just bring more attention to it.
Sure.
And like I said, there's a lot of people that don't feel comfortable just going to their preacher and, hey, because they're like, oh, maybe he'll think I'm stupid or, something like that. So I want this to be a way that people can message me.
Yeah.
I won't put their name out there.
Yeah.
It'll be completely.
This is the question of the week or something like that.
Yeah, like, just, hey, we're talking about a life for Christ. Okay, well, what if I'm doing this? Am I in the wrong? Because there's a lot of people that don't want that to be out there, but want to know that.
Yeah.
And with me, I will not mention a single name.
So I get it, and I specialize in that, and one thing that I've learned is sometimes people just being able to talk about the things that they normally are afraid to talk about is helpful in and of itself. And but I don't know what your experience was like, but I was talking to my pastor about this. Like there was the Ben Carter that people saw outwardly, but then there was this internal Ben that was, and they were like daylight and dark, and sometimes the dark would come out, but like nobody would see it. Does that make sense? And like what I realized was, as I learned how to fit in, to be accepted, even in like faith communities, but I wasn't actually growing because the problems that I was dealing with internally, I wasn't bringing out to work through with anybody. And so like I've told this on here, like at the end of the day, like I'm a human being. I'm not going to excuse my faults. I'm not going to excuse my sins, but I'm not going to act like I don't sin. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm not going to act like I don't do the wrong things from time to time. Like I have a temper that will, it's like and I'm not excusing it away, but if people don't know that I have that and they see that come out, they're like, well, I didn't know he was like this. It's like, well, I've always been this way. You've just never seen it. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that's more real to me than this presentation of who you want to see me as, if that makes sense.
When I was going through my darkest points, even my wife was like, I had no idea you was going through this, because you meet me out in public, I was cutting up, joking, I was doing everything I could to seem normal. Yeah. And get me by myself, and it was a completely different person. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to sleep. Yeah. There were several nights I'd go to work at 6 and I didn't go to sleep till 5:30. Yes. And it was, I was just running on 5-10 minutes of sleep day after day. I was just could not, get out of that funk. And I still to this day have trouble talking about things, because even though now I'm not in that depressive state as much, there's times where I'm just like, man, I'm not getting out of life what I should be,
It creeps up.
It does. Like I was sitting there last night trying to get things ready for this podcast, and I was like, man, I'm just not doing enough. I'm not where I want to be in life. And my wife's like, are you all right? Yeah. Like, nah, I'm just in this funk, and that's the thing that church has helped me with, because now that I gave that lesson about what's happened to me, now I feel like I can be more open, help more people. Yeah. And, one of the biggest things that I also want to help with is suicide. Yeah. Because I was 2 separate times inches away from taking my own life.
Yeah.
And that is a pain like no other.
Yeah.
I hate
it was
to think about it.
For me, yours seemed to have come more from grief. For me, it was more like not even that I wanted, like my goal was to actually die. It was just that I wanted that what I was experiencing to stop, and I didn't feel like there was any other way. And like, no matter how many people would sit there and tell you, like, we're here for you, and it's like, it's great that you're here for me, but nothing you do is fixing what's going on the inside right now, you know? And like, I'm like you, like I was close enough that it was a measure of pounds of trigger squeeze, if you know, from taking from ending everything. And like at least, well, twice specifically. And then I've also given up my guns, not because I am in that state of mind, but if I start to feel that internal creep up, it's like I'm not even going to risk it. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that option off the table for me, you know. And but suicide, I didn't mean to really cut you off from talking about that, but dude, like, it's a very real, people deal with it, dude. Yeah.
Yes. And the bad thing about suicide is people that don't deal with it don't fully understand. As much as they want to, they don't. And like my wife, even she's like, I've never been through. I don't know what you're going through. And for people that haven't been through that, they don't understand not only the mental wear it takes on you, but the physical and emotional wear. Yeah. Because it completely drains you of everything you've got. And I mean, there were several times when I'd be driving down the road and I'm like, I just want to go to sleep. If I just fell asleep right now, whatever happened, I'd be okay with it. Yeah. Because I'm just so exhausted of what's going on. And for me, my kid really took me out of that. Because once I had her, I was like, I've got something worth living for. Yeah. You know, I've got someone here that depends on me. Yeah. And which, there's a lot of people that don't have that, and or feel like they don't have that, because even if you don't have a kid or have a wife, you have family that loves you more. Even if you have family that you're not talking to, they still love you. They still love you, and don't want So I just want this podcast not only to be about Christ and a Bible study, but also a way that I can help people that are struggling. Because when I was struggling, there's only 2 things that helped me, and that was God and music. I mean, that was it. Yeah. And I want to help somebody. I want to be somebody else's escape from the real world. Yeah. Because the real world will drag you down.
Well, we can know all the right answers. Before I start rambling, let me think about what I'm trying to communicate. We can know all the right answers, but until we're placed in the real world doesn't care if you know all the right answers. And when you go to living out a life the right way, if you're expecting life to get like easier or to be more tolerable for you, that's a very large wake up call, because it's not going to. The world is very like unforgiving, and so like for me, you talked about having your child, and that kind of gave you that purpose. And I was telling someone recently that, like, you could look at my life from the outside looking in and be like, I have a a great house to stay in. I have this, I have this office, I have this practice, I have this podcast, I have a great family, I have a great church family. And they're all pieces on I don't mean this like I'm manipulating chess pieces, but like they're kind of like all these pieces on a chessboard, but I don't have any desire to play the game. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so like, and then knowing in my mind, at least, what I feel like would bring resolution to that, and then pray for that and pursue that. And then time and time again, that falls through. That is a very frustrating process because, you know, I would love to have that intrinsic, and I shouldn't talk like I don't, like my life doesn't have intrinsic value, because it does. But what you get from your child, let's just say that's something that I would like to have as well. And knowing that right now God is just asking me to play the game that he has put in front of me, then like, okay, that's what I'm going to do, not out of obligation. I guess I'm working through this in my own head right now. I'm learning how to do it out of a love for him, because I know that he loves me and things like that. But there's still that, there's, whether it's just my humanity or a thorn in my flesh kind of thing, there's still that longing of that intrinsic value. But if I don't have God, like if I did not have God, I would not be here right now. I would not be here right now. And it's very, I think what you're wanting to do is very good, because it sounds like you recognize that life is difficult and life puts you in challenging places and makes you ask some tough and hard questions. And sometimes, as awesome as it is to go to church on Sundays and hear a good Sunday morning service and sermon, those aren't always answering those tough questions. And this is a way to be able to address that. Is that right?
Yeah. Another reason I want to start is, you know, like myself, you know, I deliver the mail. I'm in a vehicle all day long. There's nothing better I got to do than listen to podcasts, listen to music. Well, you know, I'm bad. I'm very bad. I get there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Say, like today, I got off at 2. Listen to sports podcasts all day. I'm bad about that. And what's keeping me from learning the Bible while I'm in, and with this, there's no excuse anyway, but there's now for sure no excuse to why I can't learn the Bible all day long, every day. I mean, because it's so hard to find a biblical podcast.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
It's very difficult.
And especially one that hits close to home. Because I've seen some on TikTok, but you never know what is kind of the message they're trying to get out.
Right. What's their goal? What are they trying? Yeah.
Yes, because don't want to badmouth it. But like, some people just make podcasts to try to make money. That's all they do it for.
Yes.
And they will find any way they can. They'll talk about whatever they can to help them, you know, grow in numbers. And that's not what I want to be a part of. I don't care.
You want you have a purpose behind. It's not about money or
there's no
fame. You're just trying to put out a message.
Yeah. There's no financial gain for me. Yeah. If any money is ever made from this, it won't go in my pocket. I can promise you that. Yeah. It will completely go to something else.
Sure.
But this is all for spiritual gain. That's all I want it to be about. And, you know, that just, it's hard for people to understand that, because in today's world, the first thing anybody wants is, you know, bad thoughts from the get-go. And that's why I said I don't want any debates, because I don't want to sit here and argue with somebody because we have different beliefs of, you know, a certain thing. I want this just to be a learning thing.
Yeah.
If we have different beliefs, that's fine. We can sit down and talk about it off camera. We can sit down and have discussion about it at any time. But if we're sitting here and arguing back and forth, and somebody that is struggling and wanting to become closer to Christ, all that, I feel like all that does is push them away.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't want it to be anything that has to do with us sitting here going back and forth on why this is this and it's not this and all that. That's not at all.
It gets in the way of
of what we're supposed to be doing, which is bringing people closer.
Yeah.
And there's too much of that. There's too much arguing nowadays.
Yeah, there is. And I think it's hard to find a biblical podcast because, well, one, I think it's just difficult to even begin to break down everything that you can break down from Scripture. It's difficult to do that. It's not popular. And then there's no real, I think the mindset that you have to have to do that is one, what you're talking about is it's not going to be about money. It's not going to be about, it is about breaking things down, condensing it into a not palatable, like whether we like truth or not, we need to put the truth out there, but like in an understandable way, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and get that message out. And, I don't think you can do that from a genuine standpoint if your end goal is, trying to get money. I mean, that's not what I'm here for. That's not what you're here for. And this podcast isn't even like I mean, I don't care obviously I don't care to talk about God on here, but that's not what this is about. There's a purpose for why I do what I do here, but my purpose in this is separate from your purpose and what you're doing in yours. But yeah, anyway, so what do you have either do you like an end goal in mind of like structure? Or do you think that it'll like you're going to start out with like what you're talking about with, is it Jack Honeycutt coming on first, and then there's another individual coming after that, but he said that he would come on and talk about maybe questions that people had following.
Yeah, he said he would make his topic over maybe some questions that somebody asked that he could hit with. But totally, it would be great, if we could make a specific topic. But at the same time, I want people that come on to also be able to be like, all right, this is what I want to talk about, because there's some things that are hard to talk about with people. And I don't want this podcast to just be let's hit the easy stuff.
Yeah.
I want it to dig deep, because there's some topics that people are very uncomfortable talking about that need to be talked about.
The nitty gritty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the harder things, like an example of a harder thing, is like when it talks about like God hardening Pharaoh's heart. It's like, if you read that and it's like it's like you're reading it like God is making him be disobedient to him, and it's like that is a hard thing to like even begin to break down. But it sounds like those types of tough questions are exactly like what you would like to explore.
Yeah. Well, and if this stays just in T-ville, that's fine. But I would love to talk to people from, eventually make it go global if that's what I could do. I mean, obviously, I'd love to be able to reach as many people as I could. That's all that we really can try to do. And
that with the internet, that gives you that footprint, that foothold that you need to do that.
Yeah. So all I can really ask of people that, that does watch it is just share it and like it. And obviously subscribe, but you don't, as long as you're listening, you ain't got to subscribe. I just want to get it out there. I just want it to be shared. I want it to reach as many people as I can. I mean, that's all it is. I don't have an end goal where I'm like, I want to reach here and that's it. I want it to go as far as I can take it.
Yeah. Fair enough, man. Well, I think it's going to be great, and I'm not anxious, because anxious has negative connotation. I'm anticipating being able to listen to it and watch it. And is it going to be weekly? How often are you going to do it?
So, trying to set up an interview every week. Right now, I've got 7 people lined up. I've got 2 interviews for sure. So I've got Jack. I think we're getting together a week from today. And me and Michael are getting together sometime the week after that. So far, I haven't got any, but I'm going to try to post like every Sunday evening or Monday morning.
Okay.
Because I don't want to post it here in church. I want it to be, either on a Sunday evening when church is over. People, hey, I want to listen to that. They're still in that learning mode, or Monday because for most people, Monday's a rough day.
It is a rough.
And if Monday they can be, all right, I can listen to this and it'll help me through the day. That's something, So I'm going to try to interview somebody every week. I'm going to try to have the podcast out every Sunday evening or Monday.
And are you going to like do any sort of like if somebody approaches you, like, are you going to select people, or are you looking for people to approach you? And
both. I've put out there. I've had several people give me, hey, this would be a great person to interview. I immediately messaged them, hey, would you do it? They said yes. If somebody reached out to me and was like, hey, I want to do it, by all means, let's do it. I don't want this to just be me. I want people to do it, but I want them to feel comfortable enough to do it. Because I have asked people and they're like, I just don't think I feel comfortable doing it. And that's fine. I don't feel comfortable doing it. I'm pushing myself to do it.
Sure. And
so if people want to do it, text me, message me, whatever. If you have people that you're like, this would be a good person, send me their name and I'll message them. I'm just trying to get as many people as I can.
And like, say people have questions that they want to, or like topics that they would like to see explored, but maybe they want to see it explored, but because they don't know, that's why they want to see it explored. So can they just message you, like send you a message like, hey, I would like to see you talk about this, or have somebody talk about this, or this is a question I have. Is there a way that we could address this on the podcast?
So far, my plan is I'm going to have a couple questions myself, because there's questions I have. I'm definitely am not even qualified to be in the same room as some of these people I'm interviewing. So I have questions. I'm asking people to send me their questions so I can ask them. If somebody is like, hey, I've been struggling with this, can y'all talk about this? Then I'll message all of them, like, hey, do you feel comfortable talking about this? And, and whoever decides they want to do it, then that's who will do it.
That'd be awesome.
That way, if I don't want any questions unanswered, I want to be able to get as much out of this as I can.
I think your camera died, but it's fine. We're at a probably, no, it came back on. I don't know what the issue was, but anyway, we can. I'm afraid one of these is about to do like an auto shut off or something. So we'll go ahead and if you feel like we've covered enough, do you feel like we've covered enough?
I think so.
Okay.
I think I've got trying to get my message out there.
Yeah.
Is good.
So I'll try and get this up this afternoon. I'm not going to release it as like an official episode, but just kind of like as a special. And then I'll get it up and released this afternoon. And then you'll be free to share it, or if you want to, like whatever, it'll be up and to do with whatever you want to after probably by 5 o'clock. So.
I really appreciate you having me on and helping me get this out
you're
there,
welcome,
because like I said, I want to get this out there, and the only way to do that is from people's help. Yeah. I've had several people share posts and stuff, and that's I'm thankful for everybody for that.
Yeah, no problem, dude. And anytime anything I can do to help, please let me know, because I think what you're doing is great, and I want to assist in facilitating that if at all possible. So. But I appreciate you taking your afternoon. I know you come in from work, so you're probably ready to get home and relax a little bit. But we'll get this out there, and just let me know. Like, and I'm sure you'll announce it on Facebook. But whenever you release the first episode, and I'll make an announcement as well, because I want to get it out there too.
I appreciate that.
All right.
I really do.
All right, man. Well, take care. Okay.
You too.